whether it's a close race or whether it's a wide open race, the Electoral College is the same, but all but for 2 states. Do y'all know which 2 states don't follow the Electoral College exactly?
District of Columbia?
Nope,
Oh.
they actually follow it, although they're not a state. Y'all know? There are 2 states that have slightly different rules. In one state, in Maine, they do it by congressional district. Whoever wins the whole state wins 2 votes. They have 2 congressional districts. If Donald Trump wins one of the districts, like let's say northern Maine, then he gets an extra electoral vote. In 2008, Barack Obama won the Nebraska district, that's the other state, Nebraska. He won the Nebraska district where Omaha is located. So he picked up an extra electoral vote. It was very close. Incidentally, Republicans were they actually gerrymandered the district so that Obama couldn't win it in 2012. As soon as that happened, we're talking like 2009, which actually angered a Republican who's leading a national movement against gerrymandering because he was so ticked off that, I mean, it was so blatant a play to make sure that this didn't happen again. And it's a Republican, no less, in a very Republican state. But you can see from this graphic that, like, District of Columbia, speaking of that, 90-9, Democrats won that. It's not even close, right? But there are some other close states, like, let's say, my first state of Wisconsin, 50-49. Even though it's 50-49, even though 1 percentage point separates the 2 of them, the Democrats get the whole state. Same thing in Georgia. In Georgia, in 1996, the Republicans won Georgia by 1 percentage point, but they got all the Georgia votes. So it's a winner-take-all system for all but 2 states. But theoretically, each state is technically in charge of its own election rules. They can decide to do it by congressional district. They can decide to do it differently. They can decide how to do the Electoral College, how to choose the electors differently, whether people could campaign or not. But see, here, this is from the textbook. Small state bias, well, all we did is we just confirmed it, and that the bias is widespread and it's pretty extensive. Now, some argue that the way the Electoral College is set up, it weakens voter turnout. We have a student who transferred from here. He's up at Appalachian State University. He's actually doing his paper on this. So I will show you what the data looks like. So take a look at this. This is from the 2004 election. Why am I using 2004 election? Well, first off, it's a cool graphic. Secondly, it was a very close election. But this isn't about the 2004 election. You're kind of seeing this now. This is very typical of a lot of elections. 2008 was a little different. Democrats and Republicans campaigned in a broad number of states. This over here, this map, each hand shows a presidential candidate visit, not a surrogate. The actual presidential candidate went there. George W. Bush or John Kerry visited the state. So here's 1 hand for Kansas, 2 hands for California. Over here, each dollar sign represents $1 million spent on TV advertising by a candidate. So, are y'all on this slide? Right now, slide 9 out of 11. Can y'all follow? What do you notice? How is the election conducted?
Put money where you visit, right?
Yeah, you put well, yeah.
The ads
Some
are-
money. Yeah, the ads seem to kind of follow. The ads kind of follow the visit. Okay. What else do you notice? I mean, this is your election map. How is the election being run?
It's like you're hitting specific
You're correct. They are hitting specific states. Which states are they hitting?
Florida, obviously.
Okay, well, why obviously? Wait a second, why obviously? Because the data shows it, but why? Why are they all over Florida? Are there other states you recognize that are just buried? Which one? Ohio, yeah,
Arizona.
Ohio's buried. Which one?
Arizona.
Visits, weird, it's weird. They have a lot of visits, but not as much money. It's actually kind of expensive to advertise in Arizona. I just learned that
Really?
or this week. Yeah, it's hard to reach people. Oh, sorry?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay, so Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida,
Michigan.
Michigan. Y'all know this one? Wisconsin. It's like the shape of a hand.
California stuff.
No, there's like 2 visits and
No.
not as much money going on in California. But
Iowa.
Iowa, yep. So Wisconsin, Minnesota, New Hampshire.
Yeah,
It's like the election's being waged in 5 or 6 states.
Yeah.
Are they the most populous states? The most electoral college votes? Which are the most populous states? Like, give me the biggest 3 states.
Obviously Texas.
Texas, California, New York.
See, I would love, when I was growing up, we were always like, oh, Texas is first. Yeah. Okay, what's the most populous state?
California,
California. Okay, what's number 2?
New York,
Well, it was when I was in Texas, but now it's Texas.
Texas.
Just a shade ahead of them.
And then New York. Yeah.
And then New York, okay.
Uh,
They're about time. All right, so you got that? The biggest 3 states. Any advertising money spent on them? Nope. 2 visits, California. That's it. For the 3 most, so it can't be based on population. That's what most people tell me. Oh, people only go where the most votes are.
Is it based on awareness?
No, not quite.
Is it based on awareness? Or
Based on what?
awareness? I don't know, because like you said, the big states don't have that many visits and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, take a look there. I mean, Nevada has like, what, 6 votes now? Back then it had 4. I mean, it's not a big state, but yet they got a lot of visits. Why Nevada? I mean, Nevada had like 4, I think they had 5 electoral votes. Idaho had 4. Right next to each other, one's getting saturated, one isn't. Why is that?
Is that where their computer was?
Whether what?
Like,
The swing state?
Yeah, what makes a swing state? You're right, these are all, the swing states are definitely getting, but what makes a state a swing state?
Like, they're not, we don't typically vote every year the same way.
Oh, okay. Meaning, well,
Just
that's good.
support-
Vote
it's
either
up for
way.
grabs.
They're up for grabs.
Yeah.
Vote either way.
How do you know a state is up for grabs?
Because pretty much everybody supports either party, right?
Okay, so you can look at past history, right? You can say, how many times the state, like when Barack Obama won Indiana, it was the first time Democrats won the state since 1964. So you can look at their history. What else can you do to figure out if a state is swing state? Meaning it could go either way. Meaning, how would you know it could go either way? Past history is one way. What's another? I'm asking you tough questions, but I feel like you can do this. How would you know? How do people know? You all said New Hampshire's close. How do you know New Hampshire's close? Or was it y'all? And maybe it was somebody else I talked to on the way up. He's like, oh my gosh, New Hampshire's close. How do you know New Hampshire's close? Polls, there you go. How do you know what's a swing state? Well, you take a look in June when you're planning out your schedule. Hey, which states are close and which ones are far away? You get to realize that Idaho, Trump has a 60-20 lead. California, Hillary Clinton's up by 30 points. You're not going to visit those states. You're only going to visit the ones that are close, where you can, to metaphorically say, move the needle. So if you think about it, this is in 2004. I mean, we didn't get a single, like Kerry or Bush, or even their vice presidents, none of them came to Georgia. Nobody spent any ads. We didn't see any ads. It was like there wasn't even an election. Bush won 60-40 over Kerry. I mean, I mean, yeah, I showed up to vote, but I mean, it was almost like there wasn't a campaign going on. All across Iowa, like every single small freaking college that's like our size has had a visit from every, like from the Iowa caucus. They've had like all these candidates. I mean, like they're like, hey, can I speak to like 20 students? And then they'll show up, they'll make it look like 100 students are there or something like that. Like every one of these, like every Iowa college, I have some friends that teach up in Iowa, and they're saturated with presidential candidates. I drove up students to see William Weld, who was the VP nominee, and it was too late to plan. If they'd given me a week's notice, I could have taken students up to see Gary Johnson. I saw Bernie Sanders in Alabama, which was surprising. Hillary Clinton came over to Atlanta during the primary. She hasn't come to the state to campaign. Donald Trump came in June. And Mike Pence came like the day before classes began. That's because Georgia people think Georgia might have been a little bit in play. That's a lot for Georgia since I've been here. The last presidential candidate who visited LaGrange was in 1992, Patrick Buchanan, a conservative. The last president to visit LaGrange was John F. Kennedy.
Did he really visit or just like kind of pass through?
Yeah, well, he visited and made a stop. It's not like he drove around and like, oh, we got a flat tire and they changed it or something. No, he did something here. Yeah, Kennedy is the last person. If you're in Iowa, I mean, every single presidential candidate since Kennedy has been to your state. Everybody has. It hardly seems fair, does it? See, that's what ticks me off, because it's like, not only does Iowa get all the primary attention, but they get all the electoral attention, because Iowa is considered a swing state. New York, I mean, I know Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both plan to celebrate the election, like the election night. They're both in New York, but they're not campaigning in New York. It's like for most of the country, look at this. How many states, do a majority of states, are they like Georgia, frozen out of the system?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yep. Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, South. Hey, geez, only one southern state even gets attention. That's Florida. Some people don't think that's a southern state. It's like where all the northerners come or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's like Illinois, Indiana, everywhere. Like only a few western states are getting any attention. It's like the election just isn't happening for most people. So a few people are getting a ton of attention. Now the question I'm going to ask y'all today, for all of you to be my researchers and figure this out, is this good for democracy or bad for democracy? How many people think the system might be rigged this way? Because that's a lot of money, but the money's not being spread around to everybody. It's concentrated in a couple states. It's almost like your vote is worth a heck of a lot more money in some states, and it's worthless in others. You want to know where the most expensive vote is in America? It's in Arizona, a new swing state. To be specific, East Arizona. Yeah, but for most of us, our chances of having an influence on the election are pretty nil. I remember seeing this. This is a little argument people have against voting. Said, you are more likely to be involved in a car crash and die on the way to the polls than you are to influence the election. It's a rather dark way of thinking about it, but that's, your chances that your one vote, you'll be like that Kevin Costner movie where he gets to cast the deciding vote for president. That's Hollywood, folks.
That doesn't really happen.
I mean, a good reason, it's a Hollywood.
So really, I shouldn't just vote. I just shouldn't vote.
Well, that's a economist, rational choice would say your chances of influence it. Well, there are many other reasons to vote. You show your civic duty, right? I mean, you show that you care about the system. Even if your vote doesn't determine the finals, they say, wow, Georgia had a pretty high turnout or so. People are pretty engaged, so maybe that leads to presidential attention. There are a lot of reasons to vote. But your chances of influencing the election are pretty slim. And on the other hand, sometimes stranger things have happened. And certainly there are a lot of down ticket races. Your chances of influencing those are pretty good too, so. Hey, there was one election in Pennsylvania when I taught at University of Delaware. It was decided by 10 votes. There was a Connecticut race. This guy got reelected by 2 votes. They did a recount. He actually won by 4 votes. Told you, it's kind of close. Out of 500,000 people, that's a lot.
500,000?
Well, whatever. 100,000, whatever. There is a way we can tell. Now, here's what I want each of you to do. I want you to jot down, let's all pick a swing state or 2 to look at. We'll each look at the biggest swing states, and then we'll look at some states where these states are being ignored. They have no money and no presidential system. Okay, so Cindy, pick first. Pick a state that's really heavily saturated.
Florida.
Florida, okay, Florida is yours. All right, pick a state where it's like crickets are chirping. Nobody's showing up. Can't have a hand or a dollar sign.
Texas.
Texas, okay, so you got Florida and Texas. It's like a good SEC versus Big 12 battle. All right, Solomon, pick a saturated state.
Say Arizona one is? Is that Nevada?
Arizona's got a couple visits, which we can't figure out why, but they certainly didn't spend money.
So Nevada.
Okay, Nevada. Nevada's one of yours. Now pick one that there are crickets chirping that no one's showing up.
California. Oh, wait, actually, Georgia.
Okay, Georgia. So Nevada and Georgia. Betsy, pick a saturated state. Wisconsin. Go, Pat, go. Okay. Now pick a state where everyone's ignoring you. The state's getting no attention.
Montana.
Yeah.
No one's paying them attention.
All right, Montana. Okay, so you got Hannah, Montana. And Wesley, what you got? What's your saturated state?
The one above California, that's Wyoming, right?
Oregon.
I'll do
Oregon's got some visitors. Okay, what's your empty state? Want to pick a southern state? There's so many to choose from that are getting ignored.
North Carolina.
All right, Oregon versus North. Oh wait, that's it's kind of saturated. I know what you think.
I can do it all.
Yeah. Okay, so look at North Carolina and what's another saturated one?
You can choose one.
Nah, we'll go with Oregon. How about we?
Okay.
So Oregon and North Carolina. Marcus Mariota versus. All right. I'm gonna look at Pennsylvania.
What am I looking at?
You're looking. Okay. Are you ready? So jot down your state. Right now, which one is saturated? Which one is not? Okay. Are you ready? You got down your saturated state, you got your non-saturated state. It's like your non-saturated fats. Okay, are you ready? Ta-da! Okay. Here's what you gotta do. Does it have a black dot, meaning high participation? I'll even take a half one. Let's dichotomize it. Black dot means 60% or more turnout. That means a high turnout state. A white dot means low turnout. You're looking to see if there's a correlation. So what is Minnesota? Here's Minnesota, by the way. So what is Minnesota? High turnout or low turnout? High turnout. How about New York?
No.
Low turnout. Okay. So go ahead, jot down what you got. So what's your answer, Betsy?
They're both high turnouts.
Both high turnout. Which ones were yours?
Montana and Wisconsin.
Montana and Wisconsin. Okay. What you got, Solomon?
Nevada's like It's
Kind of.
50-50, yeah, and then Georgia's like low turnout.
Low turnout, okay.
Just leave that.
Wesley, what you got?
Oregon is high turnout, and North Carolina is half.
Half and half, okay. Cindy, what you got?
Texas is low turnout, while Florida is like half
Half
and
and
half.
half, okay.
Texas is low?
Yeah, Texas is low turnout.
It's fun.
I mean, it's not like Texans don't have any patriotism or civic duty, it's just,
That's what it looks like.
there's no elections going on. There's no election going on, Texas isn't even contested. It's the second largest state and it's not contested. Oh, good, Jordan, you get to do the next one.
Let's do it.
All right,
I'm
let's
ready
do
for
it.
anything.
Let's fill you in on what we're doing. All right, Jordan, you're gonna pick a state which is deep purple or deep green. Deep purple means, and you can look on with it. Deep purple means a lot of presidential visits, like candidate visits in an election, and a lot of campaign cash is being spent there. So pick a saturated state.
So
We've already
pick
done a couple of them.
So pick a deep purple.
Yeah, deep purple or deep green.
They ain't got no abbreviation on it. Wisconsin.
Oh, we already did Wisconsin, sorry.
Let me publish. They ain't got no, is that Massachusetts?
Up here? Okay, well actually, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire? Gonna be New
It's just
Hampshire.
north of Massachusetts.
So do New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, okay, good. You wanna get the one next to it? Nobody went there. Or do you wanna get a southern state?
Yeah, I do Florida.
Okay, we already have Florida done. So you got New Hampshire, which is saturated.
What
Pick a
Alabama?
blank state in the south.
What about Alabama?
Alabama, okay, deal. So New Hampshire and Alabama. Can you jot this on down?
Yeah.
Save the data. All right, what we're looking at is, we're looking at the states that get a lot of turnout. The states that get a lot of turnout, a lot of visits, a lot of campaign cash spent there, are they gonna have a high voter turnout? In other words, if they get a lot of visits, if they get a lot of presidential attention, they're a battleground state, are they gonna have a high turnout? All right, the results are for New Hampshire versus Alabama.
So New Hampshire and Alabama.
Yeah, a black dot means high turnout, lots of people showed up to vote. Then there's half and half, and then a white dot means low turnout.
Alright, it looks like, New Hampshire got a high turnout.
Yep.
Alabama got half and half.
Yeah. You see how this works, right?
Yeah.
Now take a look over here. The closest elections were in light blue states and yellow states. So the yellow ones were the ones that Bush barely won. The light blue ones are the ones that Kerry barely won. Oh yeah, I'm just saying. Hey, do you want to get another pair?
Yeah. Go
Did
ahead.
Minnesota have a lot of attention?
Minnesota?
What do y'all got? Did Minnesota got a lot of attention? A lot of people show up to Minnesota, and Minnesota has high or low turnout. It's like Price is Right, folks, isn't it?
Minnesota, you got a, oh yeah, you got a high turnout.
Yeah. Now look at this. Most southern states, out of all the southern states, let's see if you can find this out, Jordan. Which southern states got a lot of attention?
Southern state. You looking at the turnout or the purple one?
Purple or green?
Oh,
Or both?
yeah, Florida,
And
Georgia.
nobody else. Everybody else is empty, right?
Yeah.
Take a look at southern state turnout. How many southern states have a black dot?
Like a full black dot?
Yep.
Like. Well,
What do you-
I mean, unless you count, like, is not. Do you count?
A couple have half. Does anybody have a full black dot?
Nah.
None of them do. Not a single state that seceded from the Union had turnout of 60%. And only Florida got really a lot of attention. That may have actually pulled Florida up somewhat. Isn't that interesting? North Carolina, the vice presidential candidate was from North Carolina, John Edwards, on the Democrat side, so that may have led to a slight boost. I have no idea why Alabama had a slight boost. Louisiana, a little bit, but yeah, not a single state had higher than 60% turnout in the South. Because other than Florida, the South was ignored in the 2004 election.
Where's everybody at?
I know, I was wondering that too.
Football, travel.
Okay.
See, I showed the class on time,
I know.
everybody here.
Well, not on time, but you should.
It's about-
Now, how many times have you heard about this argument that there's a strong difference between red and blue states? You heard about this term, red and blue states? Whenever they talk about red states, blue states, what are they talking about?
Republican and Democrat.
Right, that they're Republican and Democrat states. Do you know how they got the term red and blue states? Believe it or not, there is no red and blue state that was always around until the 2000 election. The media invented it. What used to happen is the party in power, the incumbent party, was represented in the media graphs as blue. The party out of power was red. If you don't believe me, you can look at pictures of election night and you can see Bill Clinton, represented by red states, defeating George Herbert Walker Bush, represented by blue states. Because it was party out of power. The party in power was blue. But the party in power was blue in 2000, the Clinton-Gore team. And George W. Bush was represented by red because his party was out of power. So that's when they created the whole red state, blue state, when they had the big battle over the Supreme Court. It's an artificial distinction for many people. Like, do you live in a red state or blue state? And people always have these things about red states and blue states. Like, oh, red state people are this, blue state people are that. Let's take a look to see if that is the case. Or is it just as artificial as the coloring scheme? All right, let's see if I can make it a little, can y'all see it? Last slide, number 11. Red versus blue. One argument is that there's this permanent gap, almost like a civil war, complete difference between red and blue. What do you notice? All right, Wes, what do you got? These are how blue state, the people in blue states are. These are the people in red states. What do you notice about party ID? Don't worry, Betsy, you're doing ideology. And Solomon, you've got religion. And Sydney and Jordan, you've got issues. Well, I say you've got issues, but you're looking at issues. All right, Wes, what do we got? Are blue and red states totally different? Shaking your head, why? What's?
Not totally. I don't think that's a big, it's
not a big difference.
40 and 32 is.
Well, I mean, think about it. This is in a blue state. The people who identify themselves as Democrats, Republicans. In red states, Democrats and Republicans. I think you're right, but what are you noticing? I want you to make sure you line up the numbers right. Do y'all see how that works? This is for everybody, not just for Wes.
In blue states,
Are there more Democrats than Republicans in blue states?
Democrats.
Is what?
More Democrats.
Yeah, about 40-25. But think about this. In a blue state, how many Democrats are there? On the average blue state. What percentage of the people in the average blue state are Democrats? 40%?
Yeah.
Not even a majority.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah, there are a lot of independents in these states, or people not affiliated. Check it out for red states. What's the gap between red states, Wesley? Republicans versus Democrats. It's what? 2 what?
I don't know if that's people
Or, yeah, 2 percentage points is what they'll say, not 2%. But yeah, so in other words, in red states, We call them red states. Oh, these are the conservative states. These are the whatever states. Yeah, it's 34-32. That's a close football game. That's like Falcons versus Green Bay Packers, right? Wouldn't you expect in a red state to have it overwhelmingly Republican? All right, Betsy, you're up next. Ideology, liberals versus conservatives. What do you notice about the blue state, this pair, and then what do you notice about red state, this pair?
Well, the blue state is
You're up next, Tom.
between liberals and conservatives.
In blue states, are there more conservatives or are there more liberals in blue states?
More conservative.
What? In blue states, we're like, oh, these are the liberal states. They're more conservatives than liberals. I mean, there are a lot of moderates, but yeah. So yeah, in the blue states, they're actually more conservatives than liberals. That's what the graph is saying. How about in red states?
There are more conservatives than liberals.
Okay, so we expected that. But how many conservatives? 31. Really? Those red meat, fire-breathing conservatives, there's like 31% of them.
Yeah, just about 31.
Solomon,
I'm 31.2.
religion.
I think more reds, more conservatives.
No, religion.
Yeah, I'm looking at religion, it says evangelical Christian.
Oh, evangelical Christian.
Yeah. And it says like, there's more reds than blues.
Okay. Or there's more, well, in red states. Well, okay, let's just say, in red states, are there more people who say that they're evangelical Christian? What percentage of people in red states are evangelical Christian?
I'm looking at all statistics.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
How do you actually look at it again? I forgot.
Okay, look at religion, red state. What's the number?
Yeah, 45.
45.
Yeah.
So not a majority, but a sizable portion. How many people in both of them say religion is important? Blue or red?
There's more people in red.
More in red, yeah. Well, what percentage of people in blue states say religion is important?
62.
62.
So kind of a large number. So in other words, both of them have a majority.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I mean, we've been told in the media, oh, the red states are all the good Christians and the blue states are all those godless atheists. Religion's important to both groups. More so in red states, by about, what, 12 percentage points. Does that make sense, Sam? Evangelical Christian. Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. All right, tell me some issues. Pick one issue. Tell me red states and blue states, are they different from each other? So what jumped out at you as the most shocking?
Red,
Or confirms your beliefs?
I reckon about 77% that favor the death penalty.
Okay. How about blues?
70%.
Oh, so those liberals who are soft on crime, who just can't wait to let everyone out of prison. Yeah, they're pretty close to red states on death penalty, aren't they?
Yeah.
In my other class, we're looking at whether the death penalty works or not by looking at the evidence. High murder rate states who have the death penalty, are they more, in other words, is the death penalty actually deterrent crime? In my research methods class, that's what we're actually studying next week. So you'll see if the death penalty works or not. But yeah, blue or red states, more than 70% of people favor the death penalty. So in other words, it's not like, I mean, if there was a true difference, wouldn't you say 77% to 30?
Yeah.
Okay, Sydney, what jumps out at you?
The differences really aren't that shocking. I mean,
What was the most
especially with,
shocking
like,
non-difference?
gun control and abortion.
Oh wait, stricter gun control.
Stricter gun control, it says the blue states have 64%, whereas red states have 52%. And honestly, the difference just isn't that
So,
intense.
yeah. So a majority in both want gun control. Red and blue.
Yeah.
More in blue, but yeah, we expect it. But it's not a 70-30,
Right.
an 80-20, a 90-10, or even a 60-40. Making English the official language. Look at this one. Those who want to make English, you ever see those arguments? Well, if English was good enough for Jesus Christ, it's good enough for, and you're like, oh. I'm a Christian, I'm like, oh, he spoke a different language. He didn't speak King's English over there. But look at that. Who wants English as the official language of the U.S.? Blue wants it more. I had people who were like, no, you're wrong, red states are these and blue are, you can say whatever, I mean, you can think whatever the heck you want. This is what the evidence shows, that we're not so different in red and blue states if you think about it. That's the point, I mean, we're, you know, it's like, we're all Americans. Some of these, look at this, do what it takes to protect the environment. Red states want to do what it takes to protect the environment. Why? Hard to fish and hunt in a toxic waste dump, does it? Hunting and fishing is not just like a sport, it's like a way of life for a number of people, right? You can't do that in a crappy environment. Unless you want to hunt robot deer or something. Ain't gonna happen. So both of them have pretty I mean, think about the words. Do what it takes to protect the environment. Kind of strong stuff. Okay. Y'all want a game?
Sure.
All right, let's do a game.
I don't lose games.
You don't like games?
I said I don't lose games.
Oh, you don't lose games. Okay, well this one you don't win or lose.
Oh, okay.
All right, here's what I want you to do. All right, y'all can log on in. I gotta go a little quick. It took a little too long on red and blue states. Sorry, but I wanted to get y'all involved. Oh my gosh. Cubs being celebrated. They dyed the Chicago River Cubs blue. All right, are you ready? Type in implicit association test. Implicit?
Okay.
Okay, but this one you gotta do privately, by the way, it's privately.
Is it the Harvard link?
You bet. So click on that. Now you can do others of these. Like I've done one on race and religion. You can look at gender. But what you do is you take this test, or you can take, I've already taken it today. You don't have to, but it's, you do it enough, you do it anonymously. I just did with the presidential. Project Implicit Featured Task. Measure your implicit associations with U.S. presidential candidates. If you want to,
Got it.
click on this. If you want to take it, if you dare.
Is it presidential candidates?
Especially when people take the one on race, people get kind of uptight. What this is going to do is this is going to test your subconscious. So here's what I'm going to tell y'all to do this. Do not take the test slowly.
Yeah, who's that?
Do not take the test
Which one are
slowly.
we taking? The president?
Is it the president's
Yeah.
IAT?
Yeah,
Okay.
do not take it slowly. Take it as quick as possible. Right now you're thinking,
Take it as
yeah,
quick
but I'm
as
going to make a
possible.
lot of mistakes. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Oh, you were saying?
No, no.
Oh, okay. You're like, but I'm going to make a lot of typing mistakes if I go fast.
Wait,
Yes,
We gotta be typing?
you're supposed to. Well, you type E or I. You got to do it real quick. The quicker you go, the more you find out about your subconscious.
So we're supposed to type E or I?
Oh, why does mine have something that you don't? Well, you can take any of those.
I think we're taking the wrong test.
It's this one.
Wait, can you go back? Let me see.
You said what? Yeah, we
Ooh, you got like a historic one. You gotta do the historic one. Wait, is the president one on there? You got a different one.
Yeah, that's one I'm on.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that one. That might be kind of interesting. The what?
So you-
Yeah, oh, mine just showed something. Oh, can you do yours on cell phone? Oh, you're already doing it, okay. That's good. Yeah, I actually took one. For some reason, they're not letting you all do it, but if you can do the 2016 one, that's kind of cool. But remember, do it fast.
So,
Make lots of
Is
mistakes.
this the one that's asking about demographics, right?
Let's see, what do y'all do?
Yeah.
On a mountain and around.
Yeah, I see mine.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this is before you get to the actual test.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna ask like where
Okay.
you're from. So go through that, get them all in.
Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out, because what they're doing is they're testing you. You don't give your name or anything, that just goes into their big database. Okay, I see what you're doing. All right. But yeah, remember, whether you're doing it on cell phone, your own laptop or the school laptop, just do it quickly. You're like, yeah, but I might type the wrong thing in. Just look what they say. Like if you type E and you were supposed to type I, enter the correct answer and move on. Because then you'll be able to find out your subconscious. Because the theory is that when you make mistakes on the test, mistakes that you make are not random. Mistakes are not random. They tell you something about yourself you didn't even realize was going on. Or so goes the theory. Yeah, I took one in 2008 for Democrats, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans. And there were candidates who I thought I liked that I had an implicit bias against. And candidates that I thought I didn't like, I rated as okay. Now, consciously, I would never have accepted those. But sometimes your subconscious tells you something different. This is a way to unlock. So don't go real slow. Just make lots of mistakes. Type through really fast. See what you come up